Hey guys, tonight we journey far, far back before cities, before kings, even before the first written word. You're not in Kansas anymore. You're in Ice Age Europe, surrounded by icy winds, saber-toothed tigers, and the kind of neighbors who will literally club you over a rabbit. You're Neanderthal, now shorter, stockier. Built like a boulder with a unibrow, you could braid and everything is out to kill you. You wake up on hard-packed ground, spine aching, breath puffing into mist. No blanket, no mattress, just you. A few furs that smell like something died in them because it did, and a stomach growling louder than a direwolf. The fire went out overnight. Again, someone forgot to tend it. And by someone, I mean probably you. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I want to know if you're hearing this with the sun rising or the moon glowing. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your toes are numb. The wind screams down the mountainside like a banshee, and the cave mouth offers no mercy. You rub your hands together, knuckles cracked and raw. The cold bites, not politely like winter in the suburbs, but like it's trying to chew you whole. Welcome to survival mode. You aren't alone. Around you, your group family, though not in the warm and fuzzy sitcom way, slowly stirring. Your cousin snores like a mammoth choking. A child wails, probably because he peed on himself and it froze. Your grandmother coughs, deep and wet. She won't see another winter. No one says it, but everyone knows. You step outside. The ground crunches under foot's crusted snow over flint-hard dirt. No birdsong, just stillness. Eerie, electric. Then, a distant howl. Too far to worry about yet. Here's the reality check. You probably won't survive this life. Neanderthals aren't stupid. That myth's outdated. You're clever in your own way, tuned to this brutal, icy rhythm. Your brain is bigger than most modern humans. Your muscles could shame a linebacker. But none of that guarantees anything when a cave lion stalking your trail or your water source freezes over. You squat by the fire pit and fumble with flint. The chill numbs your fingers almost instantly. Your hands tremble, not from fear, but fatigue. Yesterday's hunt failed. No food. Just roots and bark and a few dead bugs that tasted like depression. Your stomach knots with something that isn't quite hunger. Any more like despair's second cousin. Snap, the flint sparks. You blow gently on the dry moss. Smoke curls, teasing. Then the moss catches tiny flames, licking the edge of salvation. Fire, you've made it again. That smell burning hair, old ash, survival fills your nostrils. You hold your hands close and feel life returning in tiny, stinging pinpricks. Behind you, the others gather. Fire is currency. Fire is everything. Without it, you're not long for this world. Fire cooks. Fire warms. Fire scares off the monsters. And oh, yes, there are. Monsters. Historically, Neanderthals roamed from Spain to Siberia, adapting to wildly different environments over tens of thousands of years. Some areas had lush green valleys in summer, others permafrost all year. Right now, your people occupy the edge of a glacier. Big brain move. Historians still argue whether Neanderthals chose these regions for the hunting grounds or got squeezed out by competitors, including early Homo sapiens. You wander away from the cave, spear in hand. It's not a great spear, more like a sharp stick and wishful thinking. But it's all you've got. You scan the horizon, no mammoths, no aurochs, not even a squirrel. You press your ear to the ground, nothing, but your nose twitches. You smell. Smoke not yours. Someone else is burning something somewhere nearby. Another group? rivals, trade partners, cannibals. There are no nations or flags, just clans. You might travel 10 miles and find a totally different way of life, new tool shapes, different burial customs, even unique dialects. One tribe might welcome you with dried reindeer meat. Another might stab you for looking at their firewood. A rustle in the underbrush makes you freeze. You crouch, motionless, heart pounding. Just a hair. You throw your spear, miss by a mile. Classic. The hare darts away. Smug little snowball. You sigh and trudge back. You think about that distant smoke again. Some anthropologists believe Neanderthals shared resources when times were good: meat, fire, even mates. Others argue they were fiercely territorial, more likely to bash in your skull than offer soup. The truth? Probably a messy mix of both. When you return, there's a dead bird by the fire, scrawny, feathers everywhere. Your brother caught it with a rock. He grins like he just slayed a dragon. Everyone gets a few bites, tearing it apart with stained teeth. Not exactly a feast, but hates protein. You chew slowly, relishing the oily skin, the crunch of tiny bones. One of the kids immediately throws up. Too much excitement? Not. Enough stomach. As night falls, you settle by the flames again. The fire flickers across the cave walls. Shadows dance. Someone hums a soft, haunting sound. Music? Maybe? Or just comfort disguised as noise. No one knows how long you'll last. Maybe weeks, maybe years. But for now, you're warm, alive, and surrounded by your people. That's enough. And tomorrow, you do it all over again. The fire barely survived the night, just like you. But this morning's different. There's blood in the air. Not yours yet, but something out there bled. And it wasn't long ago. You sniff the wind like a wolf. The scent is sharp, metallic. Wet hunger sharpens your instincts. Your belly groans like it's trying to eat itself. You grab your makeshift spira, hefty branch with a stone point lashed with sinew to creep down the frost-slick trail away from camp. Your cousin follows silently behind, dragging his club. You don't speak. Words are for the fire. Now is for hunting. The world is silent. Save for the occasional snap of distant branches and the crunch of frozen grass beneath your feet. Neanderthals? Weren't chase predators like Homo sapiens no marathon runners here? You're ambush artists. Stocky legs, barrel chest. Thick arms built more for wrestling rhinos than running from them. You crouch behind a boulder dusted with frost. Ahead, tangled in thorn bushes, is a young reindeer. Limps badly. Blood stains its fur like red clay. Maybe it fought with a wolf and won. Maybe it didn't. You exchange glances with your cousin. No need to talk. You know the plan. You circle. Quiet, careful. A twig snaps. The reindeer twitches. You freeze. It limps a step, but it's trapped. You charge. Spear goes in hard, just behind the ribs. It screams an awful, guttural sound and collapses. Your cousin finishes it with a blow. To the head, face smeared in blood, panting. Dinner, this is your first real kill in weeks. You feel something ancient pulse through you, adrenaline, joy, maybe a touch of guilt. You mutter something like thanks, not to the reindeer necessarily, just to the world. Maybe it gave. This time, you gut the animal with a flint scraper messy. Work, even if you're used to the smell. Your hands are slick with warm blood, steam rising into the chill air. You butcher fast, carving slabs of meat and stuffing them into a stretched hide sack. Organs, too. Nothing is wasted. Even the bones will be cracked later for their precious marrow. Fire's waiting. You return like champions. The others rush forward, grins splitting dirt-smeared faces. Even the elders perk up. Hunger does that, you. Cook the meat over open flame. No spices, no sauce, just charred reindeer and survival. The fat drips into the fire with a sizzle that makes your mouth water. You take the first bite and nearly weep. It's rich, hot, a little chewy, and tastes like triumph. Later, bellies full. Your people gather in a loose circle. The reindeer skull sits near the fire, whether for superstition or scrap use later. Who knows? One of the elders hums that eerie melody again. Someone tosses more wood into the fire. Sparks leap like fireflies and vanish. One child mimics the hunt, brandishing a stick and roaring. The adults chuckle. You swat the kid gently. He hits you back. He's tough he'll need to be. Firelight flickers against the cave walls. The air smells of smoke, sweat, blood, and burning fat. You're warm, full, alive. It won't last. Historically, Neanderthals mastered fire long before most Homo sapiens made it out of Africa. Evidence from Shanidar Cave and elsewhere shows they could make and maintain fire deliberately, not just catch it from lightning strikes. Flint and pyrite, dry moss, dry nerves. That's your tech. Some historians argue whether Neanderthals shared knowledge of fire-making widely, or if it was a clan secret passed down like a family heirloom. Makes sense. You'd guard fire like a dragon guards gold. Without it, you're toast. Ironically. Fringe theory of the night. Some researchers believe Neanderthals used fire not just for warmth and cooking, but for social cohesion. Think of it as the world's first group, chattelly. It involves singing, meat, and maybe a little gossip about that one weird uncle who always tried to marry cousins from other tribes. You lean back on a smooth slab of stone, stare at the fire, embers dance. Someone starts knocking two bones together rhythmically. Is it music? Maybe. Is it annoying? Absolutely. But the others join in. Now it's a party. Suddenly, a loud crack splits the night. Everyone jumps. Your cousin tosses another log on the fire and smirks. Not funny. The flames rise again. And you relax. Then, without warning, a gust of wind roars through the cave mouth. The fire flickers violently. A shadow moves at the edge of light. You all freeze. No one breathes. A moment passes. Oh, then another. The shadow's gone, just wind, you tell yourself. Or maybe not. Neanderthals feared things, but their world had no bedtime stories or campfire ghost tales, at least. None will ever know. Still, fear lived in your bones. Maybe you feared the dark, or starvation, or the rival clan that sometimes left broken bones in their wake. You feared the unknowns like we still do. Eventually, the fire steadies. You relax. The others settle. One by one, they lie down, backs to the warmth. You do the same, bones heavy with meat and muscle, and the days wait. Above you, the stars shine, cold and indifferent. No gods, no calendars. Just endless dark sky. But you sleep easier tonight, knowing you won today, and if tomorrow goes sideways, well, you've got fire now. You wake up coughing. The cave's filled with smoke, again thin, gray tendrils drifting like ghosts above the embers. Your eyes sting, your throat burns. And yeah, now you remember why sleeping too close to the fire isn't always the flex you thought it was. Still, the alternative is frostbite. You roll over and swat at the ash coating your furs. It's not glamorous cave life. You probably imagined prehistoric homes as cozy stone condos with fire pits and mammoth-hide rugs. Sorry, this place smells like wet dog and death. And you're definitely not the only one using it. Because, let's get this straight, caves aren't homes. They're strategies. Not every Neanderthal lived in a cave. In fact, most probably didn't. Historians still argue whether caves were used seasonally, for rituals, or only when the weather turned homicidal. But for now, this one's yours. 4. Better or worse, you stumble outside, blinking in the morning glare. Your breath clouds the air like you're vaping regret. And there, right by the slope, there's the real reason caves are a mixed blessing. Footprints. Not yours, not your tribe's. Fresh, you crouch to examine them. Broad heel. Deep impressions. Heavy, maybe 6, 7 hours old. Could be another clan passing through, or something worse. Behind you, one of the kids starts screaming. You spin. Around, nothing's wrong. She stepped on a frozen frog. Okay? Crisis averted. You wander the perimeter, scouting. The cave overlooks a narrow ravine flanked by cliffs and pine. It's defensible, but not perfect. Caves were chosen for access to water, firewood, and visibility, but also by necessity. Sometimes the only thing standing between you and a saber-toothed. Mauling was how high your cave sat off the ground. Still, you feel vulnerable. You can sense the eyes of something out there. Us. You're the apex predator, but just barely. Back inside, your cousin's drawing on the cave wall. No, not a masterpiece. Just a deer, sort of. With a leg that looks suspiciously like a third. Antler, you grunt approvingly anyway. It's not the Louvre, it's survival art. This kind of scratchy, abstract art shows up in caves across Europe. And while Homo sapiens usually get the credit, recent finds, like the ones in Spain, suggest. Neanderthals were scribbling on walls thousands of years before they even met their modern cousins. Not bad for a species often written off as dull. Fringe theory time. Some researchers think these drawings were more than art, maybe rituals, maybe hunting maps, maybe just early flexes. I saw this reindeer first. Back off. Back to today year. Fire's low. You grab a handful of bark and moss, feeding it slowly. The smoke grows, so does the irritation in your lungs. You squint up at the ceiling, smoke's rising, but has nowhere to go. No chimney, obviously. Just porous rock that leaks heat and traps everything else. Now you get it. Why some Neanderthals? Built shelters outside caves, entirely wooden huts, mammoth bone circles, high tents. Caves were temporary. Refuges, not forever homes. You step out again and scan the valley. That's when you see it. Movement. Half a mile off, across the slope. A figure 2, maybe 3. Broad shoulders, no antlers. Walking upright. Not your people. You. Freeze. There's a quiet panic that creeps in, not the run for your life kind, but the slow, simmering kind. Rival groups aren't always violent, but when they are, well, things get flinty fast. You call out in low clicks and grunts your signal. The others hear. Tension tightens the cave like a rope. The elder motions for silence. The children are hushed. Weapons are gathered, tools hidden. Fires smothered. If you didn't know better, you'd think you were preparing for war, but they don't approach. The figures vanish into the tree line, indifferent. And just like that, you're invisible. Again, you exhale shaky, slow. Relief isn't joy. It's just borrowed time. Later, you help patch the cave's door, a makeshift barrier of skins, stones, and sticks, designed to keep out cold animals. And the occasional nosy neighbor. It sags, and it stinks, but it holds. You reinforce. The fire pit too deeper, wider, rimmed with flat stones. Heat's precious, and tonight will bite harder than most. You also stack extra wood in the driest corner, not that anything's really dry, but you pretend. Someone sneezes. You look over. The child, again. You check her face, pale, cracked lips, eyes too glossy. Not good. Sickness spreads fast, in tight spaces, especially caves. No ventilation, no soap, and you share everything: tools, food, germs. If one of you gets sick, all of you do. Remember, there's no doctor, no antibiotics, no understanding of infection. The only treatment is hope. And soup. And maybe a little moss poultice rubbed where it hurts. You sigh and go looking for more wood. The sun is already dipping behind the cliffs. You follow the ridge trail, wary of cliffs, slippery roots, and wild cats. You find a felled tree and start hacking with your stone hand axe. Your fingers go numb. Again, you pause to stretch on, hear rustling. Behind you, you spin. Nothing, just trees. Wind, then, there it is again. Closer this time, you grip the axe tight, heart pounding. A fox, a bear, something worse. You step back, and a rabbit darts out from the brush, squealing. Your laugh is half madness, half relief. You grab it, slam it against the stone. Dinner, again. Back at the cave, night falls. You cook the rabbit whole, fur burned off, guts steaming. The kid with the fever gets the first bite. She chews slowly, then smiles. You hope it's enough. You glance at the fire, the cave walls, the makeshift barrier, and the smoke curling lazily toward the ceiling. It's not ideal. It's not safe. But it's shelter. It's warmth. It's the best you've got. And tonight, that's enough. Your hands are rawed again. You sit cross-legged on a flat stone just outside the cave. A hunk of flint between your thighs and a battered antler in your fist. The flakes scatter like glass. One hits your shin, another slices your thumb again. You suck the blood away, spit into the snow, and get back to it. Because today's lesson, you, a rock, and 400 blisters. Toolmaking isn't glamorous. It's not some serene montage of clicking stones together and grunting in triumph. It's pain, it's repetition. It's your entire morning. You chip, you shape. You whisper curses only the ice understands. Today's goal, replace the hand axe. You broke trying to crack that stupid frozen boar bone last week. Too dull, too weak. You're making something sharper now, stronger. Something that won't fold. Like a leaf when you smash it into ribs. Flint is the good stuff glass-like, snappy, and when you do it right, deadly. You strike at the core stone with practiced blows, sending flakes spiraling off. But it's a delicate balance. Hit too hard. It shatters, too soft. It laughs at you. One more wrong move, and you'll have a useless rock and no eyebrows. Your little cousin watches nearby, chewing on a bone and mimicking your strikes with a stick. You give her a crooked grin. She doesn't know it yet, but this is how you teach. No lectures, no how-to manuals. Just repetition and imitation, until her hands bleed too. Anthropologists today admire how complex your tools are. Alls, points, biffus siege with a job. The stereotype of Neanderthal equals dumb rock hitter doesn't hold. In fact, some Neanderthal stone tools show more precision than early Homo sapiens, but historians still argue whether you passed. This knowledge down through formal teaching or just vibes and observation. Judging by your cousin's backwards grip, it's probably a mix. You pause to shake out your fingers. They're stiff, red, swollen. Frostbite is always flirting with your fingertips. You rub them briskly, then lean back and look at your pile. A dozen sharp flakes. 2 good scrapers. 1 decent point. You're not a master, but you won't starve. Inside the cave, someone yells. You sigh, gather your tools, and trudge in. Turns out, your brother tried to carve through sinew with a dull blade and sliced his palm. There's blood. Not a lot, but enough to stain the firelit rock and kickstart some serious drama. You hand him your new scraper without a word. He grunts, thanks, presses it into the reindeer hide, and keeps working. His hand still bleeds. Ignore it. Neanderthals weren't soft. Still, your grandmother eyes the wound nervously. She spits into a ball of moss, slaps it on the cut, and mutters something you're not sure counts as language. He hisses. She smacks him for being dramatic. She's probably right. She usually is. Later that afternoon, you use the scraper to finish carving a new spear shaft. You test the balance, then lash the flint point to the end using sinew and pine pitch a sticky. Smoky mess that smells like anger. It takes forever. But when it's done, it feels right. The weapon has weight. Bite. Promise you run your fingers. Along the haft, smooth. This is your lifeline. Tomorrow, it might be the difference between stew and starvation, or your ribs and a predator's teeth. You keep your tools. Tucked in a hide pouch, your version of a tool belt. Scrapers, borers, a tiny blade that once shaved bone needles. Even a worn shell someone traded from far away, used for grinding herbs. It's not glamorous, but it's yours. And yes, you could make more tomorrow. But that's like saying I could just knit another sweater after your last one caught fire. You don't risk it. Tools are time. Time is life. Fringe theory alert. Some believe Neanderthals even cached tool stashing them in places for future use, like prehistoric drop boxes. Others think the same tools just happen to be left near good hunting spots. Still, the idea of a Neanderthal bug-out bag is kind of endearing. Evening comes, you sit near the fire, fingers finally stopped aching. You flip through your tool pouch like a modern hiker checking gear. All present, all sharp. You look across the cave. One of the kids is trying to break a rock using another rock, loudly, badly. You shake your head. You walk over and, without a word, sit beside him. You take the rock, angle it just right, and strike. A beautiful flake pops off. The kid gasps. You hand it back. That's the moment. That's how it's passed on, no ceremony. Just a glance, a gesture. Do it like this. The rest, they'll figure out. Historically, some tools found at Neanderthal sites suggest specialization. Certain individuals may have been better tool makers than others, sort of like the community mechanic. You're not the best, but you're good enough not to cut off your fingers. Usually, the wind howls outside. You add a log to the fire. Sparks fly upward into the cave's dark ceiling. You lean back and stretch your hands, now sticky with pine pitch, calloused and tired. And tomorrow. You'll do it all over again, because in this world, survival is chipped one flake at a time. You're not alone. You've never been alone. Not really. In this world, solitude isn't romantic. It's fatal. You live, eat, sleep, and bleed with your group. Family isn't just comfort, it's your only shot at surviving the week, right? Now, your tribe, if you can call 8 people a tribe, is gathered around the fire. There's your mother, still strong but slower now. Your younger brother, irritating, constantly hungry, and somehow always covered in grease. 2 children. You're not even sure are related to you, but might be. A grandmother who doesn't say much anymore, but never stops watching. And then there's your cousin, the quiet one who's gotten really good at hitting things with rocks. That's your unit. Your shield against the cold, the hunger, the predators. You don't love them the way modern folks mean it, with hugs and birthday cards. But you depend on them in a bone-deep, unspoken way. And they depend on you. Someone sneezes. Again, the sick child is worse today. Her breath rattles. You press your hand to her forehead and it burns back. And you don't have medicine? But you do have warmth, water, and whatever herbs you can scrounge from that half-frozen patch behind the ridge. Someone says she'll survive. Someone else doesn't answer. The silence is heavy. The group moves like a unit. Roles aren't assigned, with job descriptions, but everyone knows them. The stronger adults hunt and carry. The elders scrape hides and tell you where the mammoths went last time. The kids, when they're not sick or throwing rocks at trees, help with firewood or chasing off ravens. Even the child who can't walk after that old cave-in has a task, She braids sinew into cord, fingers moving with a quiet rhythm that doesn't need applause. Everyone matters. Everyone contributes. Mainstream anthropologists used to think Neanderthals lacked social complexity, just grunting loners in damp caves. Not anymore. Fossil evidence shows healed bones, regrown fractures, injuries. That would have required serious care. Someone was looking after their own. Even when it slowed the group down, historians still argue whether Neanderthals were guided by empathy, instinct, or mutual necessity. But let's be honest, does it matter? Someone carried a broken leg. Elder for weeks, that's compassion written in bruises. Later in the day, you and to others prepare for a short-range forage. Not a full hunt, just firewood, roots, maybe something dumb enough to wander into a trap. You grunt something approximating "don't die" to the group and head into the woods. Your younger brother walks ahead, stick in hand like it's a spear. He's humming something tuneless. You don't know where he picked it up. It's maybe the same place he picked up that head cold. Your cousin spots tracks deer, probably old. You trail them anyway. You move as a unit, eyes darting, shoulders aligned. You know each other's rhythms. When your brother stumbles on a branch, you don't laugh. You just keep going. You've all tripped on that same cursed root at least once. You find mushrooms, not the good kind, but not deadly either. Some frozen berries and a dead rabbit half-eaten by something else. You take what's left. You're not picky. Then you spot a hawk circling. It screams a shrill, echoing cry that bounces off the trees. You tense. The birds know things before you do. You scan the horizon. Movement in the brush. You raise your weapon. It's a boar. Young, scrawny, alone. Maybe lost. You could take it. Maybe, but your cousin grunts. No. Risk outweighs reward. Your brother groans, disappointed, but he listens. That's the thing with families. Sometimes the strongest choice is restraint. You want to be a hero? Sure. But getting gutted by a tusk over 10 pounds of meat isn't smart. It's just tragic. Back at the cave, the others greet you. Not with cheers, but with small nods, tired eyes, and hands reaching for the berries. The sick girl is worse. She hasn't moved in hours. You sit beside her and stroke her hair. It's matted with sweat and dried bark from the bedding. The old woman starts humming. That tune again. The one she sings when someone's close to slipping away. You say nothing, but the fire crackles a little louder, like it's trying to drown her out. After dark, you gather for warmth. The children are nestled between adults like puzzle pieces. You sit shoulder to shoulder with your cousin, the same way you've sat for years. The body heat is shared without ceremony. One of the kids leans over and pokes your side. You grunt. He grins. You shove him gently. He falls back laughing. In that moment, the cave echoes with something rare joy. Not big joy, not festival, feast day joy, but the flickering warmth of laughter between people who know they need each other. Fringe theory for the night. Some researchers believe Neanderthal groups may have had rudimentary signs or proto-language clicks, gestures, subtle expressions passed between kin. You're no linguist, but when your grandmother raises one eyebrow and everyone immediately stops talking, that feels pretty advanced to you. As you drift off beside the fire, you hear the sick girl breathing barely. But she's still breathing. Tomorrow, she might not, but tonight, you're together. That's all you have. And maybe, just maybe, it's enough. There it is, the sound you've been dreading all morning. A deep, distant rumble that vibrates through your chest and into your spine, like a warning whispered from the earth itself. Then, a thunderous crash. Branches snap. Something massive is moving through the trees. Something with tusks. You freeze, clutching your freshly sharpened spear. Because today's problem? The mammoth, not a metaphor, not a cartoon. A real, living 12-foot wall of fur and fury. You've seen them before, but never this close. They move like storms, slow and deliberate until they're not tanned when they charge. The ground trembles, like it's afraid. Your hunting party is small, just you. Your cousin, your brother, and an older man missing 3 fingers on one hand, who insists he's still the best tracker. You've been following mammoth tracks all morning, huge circular prints. Dung piles steaming in the cold, and the occasional broken tree where something too large to care walked through the forest like it. Owned it, and now you've found one. Correction, 4. A small herd, actually. 2 adults, 1 adolescent, 1 calf. They're grazing near the edge of a frozen marsh, trunks curling around brittle grass, ears flapping slowly. They don't see you, yet you huddle behind a mossy boulder and whisper grunt plans. This isn't the first time you've hunted mammoth. It may be the last. You remember the stories. How your uncle died after getting kicked in the chest so hard it stopped his heart. Or the boy from the next group over, trampled when he slipped during a charge. The danger is real. But so is the reward. One mammoth could feed the entire group for weeks. Hide for shelter, bones for tools, fat for fuel. It's worth the risk. You hope mainstream archaeology confirms Neanderthals hunted mammoths not regularly, but strategically. Evidence at sites like La Côte d'Estée Brelade shows coordinated ambushes where herds were driven off cliffs or funneled into natural traps. You don't have a cliff today. You have spears, teamwork, and about 10% of a plan. Your cousin signals. Now you move low and fast, flanking right while the others stay left. The goal is to isolate the adolescent told enough to be worth it, young enough to kill without all of you dying. You creep through the frost-laced reeds, heart hammering so loud you're sure the mammoths can hear it. Suddenly, a branch snaps. Under your foot, one of the adult mammoths lifts its head, ears twitching. You freeze. It stares, then snorts, loud, wet, furious. Time slows. Your brother lets out a whoop, waving his spear to draw its attention. Your cousin hurls a stone. You charge. The adolescent panics, veering toward the marsh. Perfect. You jab your spear-hit muscle. It screams. Blood sprays in an arc across the reeds. It swings its head wildly, nearly catching your arm with a tusk. You dive aside. The older mammoth bellows and charges, but your brother throws a flaming branch into its path. It hesitates. The adolescent stumbles into the shallows. Trapped. You follow, feet splashing through half-frozen mud. One more strike. You aim low, into the ribs. It collapses. Silence. Well, except for your lungs trying to escape your chest. You did it. The others rush in. You stab once more to be sure. The animal is still. Steam rises from its body. Your cousin places a hand on its flank and mutters something like thanks. Now the real work begins. You carve carefully, reverently. Skinning a mammoth is like peeling a house. It takes hours. Your hands go numb, then hot, then numb again. Blood pools around your knees. The hide is tough, and every cut dulls the blade a little more. You swap scrapers with your cousin halfway. Through the tracker, three-fingered and smug starts slicing through tendons like he's opening a birthday gift. You try not to roll your eyes. The meat is heavy, fragrant, overwhelming. You wrap it in hide strips, hauling it into piles. The bones crack under your tools, marrow oozing out like prehistoric soup. Someone finds a tusk, chipped at the tip of evidence this adolescent fought something before. Maybe wolves. Maybe humans. You glance toward the adult mammoths, still watching. From a distance, they haven't left, haven't charged, just watching. Do they know what you've done? Some fringe theorists suggest mammoths mourn their dead pausing at bones, circling the remains. It sounds sentimental, maybe even absurd. But right now, looking into those dark eyes across the ice, you wonder. You haul the first load back to camp with your cousin. It takes 3 trips. Your back screams, your shoulders burn. But the others cheer when they see what you've brought. Tonight, you'll feast. Not just eat feast. Mammoth liver, slow roast over flame. Boiled marrow with herbs and bark. Fat, cooked into thick, oily slabs. Even the sick child manages a few bites. Her cheeks flush, her eyes open. That might be the best thing you've seen all day. You sit beside the fire, meat juice running down your chin, belly stretching in ways it hasn't in weeks. You feel full. You feel safe. For now, someone starts humming, that low, winding melody. Again, you join in this time, your voice raspy but steady. Across the circle, your cousin nods and your brother grins. Face shiny with mammoth grease. Historians still argue whether Neanderthal groups celebrated victories like this. Did they hold ritual feasts, offer thanks to spirits? Or was it just relief, disguised as joy? All you know is, this meal is a moment of peace in a life of chaos. You earned it, and tomorrow. The bones will be cleaned, the hide stretched, the meat smoked, and you'll go out again, because even when you win, the hunger always comes back. Smoke hangs thick in the air tonight, not the sharp, coughing kind, but the warm, earthy haze that clings to your furs and turns everything golden. The fire is high, your belly is full. And for the first time in what feels like forever, you're not shivering. So what do? You sit, you stare into the flames, and you tell stories, because Neanderthals didn't just hunt and scrape hides all day. No, when the spears are stacked, the meat is hung, and the kids stop trying to use sticks as swords, you gather around the fire, and the nights of fire and story smoke begin. One of the elders clears his throat, his voice like dry bark rubbing together. Everyone quiets. He points to the tusk hanging above the fire, the one carved with faint scratches, old as anything here. You've seen it 100 times. You still don't know what half the symbols mean, but you know what it means. It means listen, he begins. A story about the time the sun disappeared for 5 days and the animals screamed in the trees. About the woman who climbed the glacier to steal fire from a sleeping bear. About the man who turned into a cave lion and returned only in dreams. It doesn't matter if it's true. You lean in. Everyone does. Even the kids stop picking their noses. You feel the heat on your face, the cold at your back, the weight of the world just outside the circle of flame. And in this flickering bubble of warmth, your people become more than survivors. You become storytellers. Mainstream. Historians have long debated whether Neanderthals had language complex enough to support storytelling. Conclusive proof exists now. Written words, no engraved mythologies, but the evidence of culture is there. The groupings, the symbols, the rituals. Stories leave no fossils, but their echoes still rise with the smoke and the fire. It's not just heat, it's theater. Every story lives in its flickers, in the way shadows dance across the cave walls, in the silent nods of listeners who've heard it all before and still want to hear it again. You glance up at the stone above the fire. It's scorched black from decades of smoke, maybe more. Tiny scratchings line the underside marks your ancestors left. Or someone else's. Maybe it's a tally of kills. Or the outline of a mammoth. Or a memory. Historians still argue whether these were art, notation, or just bored doodling. Your little cousin tugs your arm and points to the ceiling. There's a smoky smear where you once threw burning bark as a joke. It looks like a claw now. She insists it's a sky bear. You nod, like it's the most serious thing in the world. because it is. To her, at least. That's the thing about stories. They shape your world. They warn, they teach, and sometimes they're all that keeps you sane. Later, you pick up a bone flute someone carved seasons ago. It barely works. It sounds like a dying bird with a cold. Ah. But the others grin when you blow a few pitiful notes. Your brother drums a hollow log. Your grandmother claps along offbeat, but determined. Even the sick child giggles. It's a band. Barely. But it's yours. Fringe theory moment. Some researchers believe Neanderthals used rhythm and song for group cohesion, like prehistoric team-building exercises. Maybe they chanted before hunts, or mourned with dirges, or just needed something to do on endless, frozen nights. Whatever the reason, tonight's tune becomes a lullaby. One by one, the group drifts off. Someone snores like a dying mammoth. Someone else is talking in their sleep, something about wolves. Maybe you lean back, arms behind your head, and watch the fire dim. The embers pulse, soft and steady. Like a heart, you remember another story, the one about the stars. How they're the eyes of those who walked before, watching, waiting. You don't know where that story came from, but you believe it more than anything else, because tonight, sky is clear and the stars burn bright. Tomorrow will be hard again. You'll hunt, you'll walk too far. You'll lose something or someone. But for now, you sleep with stories. In your ears, soot in your hair, and warmth in your bones. And maybe, just maybe, the sky bears are watching too. Asterisk. You wake to silence, not the good kind. Not the warm hush of sleeping kin or the soft crackle of coals. This is a wrong silence. Heavy, pressed against your chest like snow after an avalanche. Even the wind outside has stopped. You sit up, the fire's out completely. Just cold ashes and the faintest smell of yesterday's smoke. You shuffle closer, hands out, expecting warmth and finding only frost. Your breath fogs, your fingers sting. It's cold, colder than it's been in weeks. You pull, your fur's tighter, glance around. Everyone else is still asleep, limbs tucked in, faces buried in pelts. Except your grandmother, her eyes are open. She's already watching you. She knows what this means. Winter isn't coming. Winter is here. And this time, it might not leave. Outside, the world has turned to white. Not fluffy, charming snow. Kind poets pretend to love. No, this is the kind of snow that eats sound, hides food, and turns the ground into a grave if you're not careful. The trees are white skeletons. The sky is gray iron. And the animals? Gone. You try to breathe through your nose and feel ice crust your nostrils. This isn't just winter. This is the long cold. Archaeologists studying the Paleolithic know this. Time well extreme climatic periods where sudden drops in temperature reshaped everything. Some lasted for years, others decades. Neanderthals endured multiple glacial surges, surviving through sheer adaptation, grit, and an absurd tolerance for discomfort. But still, historians argue whether these cold snaps triggered the final decline of your kind or just accelerated it. For now, though, all you care about is fire. You and your cousin rush to gather fuel wood, bark, even dry dung, anything that burns. The trees have lost their outer layers. Atia, barrels and dead, brittle sheets. You work fast, your hands going stiff, your breath coming short. Flint, moss. Spark, nothing. You try again. Nothing. You curse under your breath. It's probably something that translates loosely to stupid rock and ice age. Slang and finally get a tiny ember. You blow. It catches. The flames flicker back to life, weak but alive. Everyone gathers close, hands stretched toward the light like starving mouths. You ration what little meat is left, mostly frozen marrow chunks and the last slab of dried mammoth fat. You suck it. Like candy, it tastes like grease and old smoke. Still, it helps. The sick girl isn't moving. You hold your hand near her lips. Shallow breath. Still alive, barely. She won't survive another week of this knot unless you find more food. Soon, you and your brother volunteer to scout. Your cousin tries to stop. You says it's suicide. You argue. Loudly but quietly enough not to wake. The rest, eventually, he relents, handing you a fur-wrapped satchel of jerky and a cracked bone knife. Don't die, he grunts. You nod outside. The air slices your skin. Your boots crunch on the snow like breaking bones. You move slow. Deliberate. Every movement burns energy you can't afford to waste. No tracks. No sounds, just wind. Hours pass. The sun doesn't rise, just turns the gray from slate to pearl. You find an old trail, a flattened path through frost-crusted brush. Your brother kneels, inspects a patch of frozen scat. He grins. Reindeer.u. Press forward, following faint signs. A broken branch, a hoofprint half swallowed by snow. You hold your breath every time the wind changes, praying not to lose the trail. Eventually, you see them. Far off, 3 shapes moving through the trees. Not mammoth smaller. Reindeer, definitely. 1 limps. The gods or whatever passes for them are being generous. You inch closer, too far for a spear. No cliffs, no traps, no team, just you. And a very risky idea. You dig into the satchel, take out a flint chip, strike it against your blade. A tiny spark. You gather dry grass, nestle it under a pine branch, and light it. Smoke curls upward. You wait until it billows. The reindeer pause. You run to the side, upwind, dragging a burning stick. Another fire. Another plume. They panic. You've started a controlled burn just small enough to chase them without, setting the whole forest on fire. Hopefully, the reindeer veer away. Straight toward your brother, who waits behind a boulder. He strikes. A clean hit. Dinner. You celebrate silently, grinning through chattering teeth as you butcher fast and dirty. Not everything can come with you, but you get enough. By the time you return to the cave, the sun's dropped again. Your legs feel like frozen logs, but the smell of cooked meat draws the others from the shadows like moths. The sick child eats a bite. Then 2. Then she asks for more. It's a win. Fringe theory time. Some scholars think Neanderthals used rudimentary food storage techniques, burying meat in snow, hanging it in cold air, or even fermenting it in pits. Your tribe does some of that when the ground isn't frozen solid. Today, though, you're just eating while it's hot. You sit near the fire. Someone passes you a piece of reindeer fat, so warm it drips down your fingers. You lick it clean. Not full, not even close, but you're fed. And right now, that's enough. Tomorrow might be colder, but tonight, the flames dance again. The wind howls, but you howl louder. You survived, and in this winter that doesn't end. That's everything, asterisk. The girl dies during the night. She doesn't make a sound. No coughing, no gasping, just a stillness that doesn't fade. By the time the sun blinks above the snow-choked ridge, she's already gone. You're the first to notice. You touch her. Cheek hits cold, waxy. Her lips slightly parted, eyes half-lidded, like she's just dozing. But you know better. Everyone knows better. No one says a word. Love, loss, and the burial. Debate starts with silence. Your grandmother places a hand on the girl's forehead and closes her eyes. Then she looks to the others, nods once. That's all it takes. The tribe moves, slow but deliberate. You start digging. The ground is stubborn, a frozen crust of earth and rock. You use antler picks, sharp stones, your bare hands when tools fail. Your knuckles split. Blood stains the frost. The others don't stop you. This is your task. She was your cousin, or your niece, or your sister's daughter. No one's really sure anymore. You only know that when she laughed, the cave felt warmer. The pit takes hours. The dirt is more ice than soil, and halfway through, your pick snaps. Still, you keep going. Because you must. Archaeologists have found Neanderthal burials across Europe Shanidar. In Iraq, La Ferracie, in France, and other skeletons placed in shallow graves, often curled on their sides. In some cases, they're surrounded by flower pollen or animal bones. Some believe it's proof of ritual. Others think it's coincidence. Historians still argue whether Neanderthals buried their dead out of love, respect, or just to keep predators away. You don't know what the truth is. You just know you can't leave her here, exposed. When the pit is deep enough, you lay her inside. Wrapped in hide, her tiny hands folded beneath her chin. Someone adds a carved flint blade. Someone else places her favorite smooth stone by her feet, the one she always kept in her satchel. For no reason you could ever figure out. You pause. Then, without ceremony, you begin covering her with earth. The snow starts to fall. It's not gentle. It's thick, fast, heavy. The kind that muffles footsteps and memories. You work faster. Eventually, it's done. No songs. No chants. Just the wind. But later, around the fire, your grandmother starts humming. That low, winding melody, and this time, everyone listens. No one speaks her name. You probably don't even have names, not the way modern people mean them, but you remember her. That's what matters. You remember her laughter, the way she always dropped food and blamed the dog. The time she convinced your brother that rabbit droppings were frozen berries. You smile, then stop yourself, because grief doesn't come with permission. Not here. Not when food is short, the cold still. Gnaws at your toes, and death could return tomorrow. Later that night, you find yourself staring at the burial mound. The snow's already smoothing it into nothing. A small hump in the landscape. Invisible, unless you know it's there. You pick up a flat stone and scratch something into it. You don't know what it means. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Fringe. Theory tonight. Some researchers believe Neanderthals marked graves with symbolic items, tools, carvings, even ochre pigments. Not art for art's sake, but something deeper. A goodbye. A whisper into the void. The beginning of memory. Inside the cave, your people are quiet. Not sad, exactly. Not broken. Just still. Grief here isn't like in the modern world. No funeral. Parades. No keening wails. Just fewer jokes around the fire. Longer silences. And eyes that don't meet yours as often, but the world keeps turning. The next morning, your cousin wakes early and begins sewing. A new hide cover for the sick woman's bedding. She's not sick anymore, but someone will need it. Your brother reshapes a spear point. Your grandmother stirs ash into the cooking pot. You, though, a coup, you go back to the mound, you kneel, and press. Your palm to the snow. It's cold, always cold, but you don't move. Because sometimes, when the snow refuses to melt and the meat runs out, the only thing you can give is time. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Asterisk. Your leggings are soaked in blood again. Don't worry, it's not yours this time. Probably you're elbow deep in the ribs of a freshly killed deer, carving out its guts with a scraper so dull it might as well be a spoon. The hide's stiff. The fat's frozen, and your fingers are so numb you can't tell meat from sinew. Welcome to the world of Neanderthal fashion. Mostly blood. Because, yes, clothing is a thing. Sort of. You don't have wardrobes or closets. You don't mix and match based on the vibe. You wear what works. If it doesn't fall apart, freeze solid, or catch fire, it's fashion. In this case, that means stitch together layers of reindeer hide, mammoth fur, and something that once smelled even worse than it does now. You peel off your current outfit. It's crusted with salt and misery and hold up the new hide. Still steaming, still sticky. Your grandmother hands you a bone needle she carved from a raven's leg. You start stitching. No thread, of course, just sinew. You suck on one end until it softens, then thread it through the hole and pull. The rhythm is automatic. Poke, pull, pull. Pull, you hum under your breath. It sounds like focus. Or maybe hunger. Your younger brother watches from the corner, wrapped in what could generously be called a cape. It's 3 rabbit skins sewn together with hope. He looks like a fancy shivering mushroom. Cold, you ask. He shivers harder in response. You sigh and toss him an extra scrap of deer hide. He wraps it around his head like some ancient winter turban. Stylish, functional, ridiculous, but it works. Mainstream. Archaeologists know Neanderthals wore clothing. There's no chance they survived sub-zero climates in the buff. But exactly how they dressed is still up for debate. No clothes survive, obviously. But there's strong evidence for hide use. Scraping tools, awls, bone needles, and even wear patterns on teeth from pulling sinew with their mouths. Historians still argue. Whether your people tailored clothes for fit or simply tied things around themselves like furry burritos. Judging by your brother's rabbit getup, it's probably a bit of both. You tie off the last stitch and hold up your new leggings. Are they cute? No. Are they dry, flexible, and less blood slick than the last pair? Absolutely. You pull them on. The inside is still warm from the fresh hide. It's oddly comforting now for the rest. Tunic, cape, fur-wrapped boots. You wrap a strip of wolf fur around your shoulders like a sash. Fancy, maybe. But it also blocks the wind. Utility and intimidation rolled into one. Your cousin approaches, holding something in her hand. A necklace sort of slash of poos, a length of sinew. Strung with small animal teeth, a carved bead, and what looks like a shard of pink shell. You raise an eyebrow. For me. She grunts and places it around your neck without a word. It smells faintly of musk and fish bones. It's perfect. Adornment wasn't just for Homo sapiens. Many Neanderthal sites reveal objects that don't have a clear utility beats. Shells, feathers, and pigment residues. Some believe these were signs of identity or status. Others think they were spiritual tokens. Some say they were just cool-looking things someone liked. You know what? Fair. Fringe theory time. A few bold researchers suggest that Neanderthals may have even dyed their clothes with ochre or charcoal to mark roles, families, or moods. The original wear black, feels sad expression. Who knows, later that day, you find yourself gutting another deer while rocking your new outfit. You catch a glimpse of your reflection in an icy puddle. Your hair is matted, your skin is smeared with soot, and your necklace rattles faintly when you move. Honestly, you look kind of awesome and terrifying. That's the goal, because in this world, fashion isn't about beauty, it's about survival. Warmth, camouflage, intimidation. The wolves don't care if your boots match your belt. But they might think twice if you look like something that eats other predators for breakfast. Your grandmother is scraping another hide, muttering about how you stitched yours crooked. You ignore her and keep working. The next tunic will be better. Maybe by nightfall, the cave is filled with the sounds of needles through leather. Bone against hide, children fighting over a strip of fur. And your brother still wrapped in his rabbit turban, pretending to be a bear. You sit back, stretch, and admire your work. You've made a full-set tunic. Leggings, belt, boots, cloak, and a fur hood lined with bits of bird down. You're warm, dry, deadly. A walking, grunting snowstorm. And tomorrow. When the wind roars and the snow cuts sideways across the plain, you'll step out into it not soft, not stylish, in the Instagram sense. Protected dot. Because for Neanderthals, fashion isn't a trend. It's armor. Asterisk. You see them before they see you, across the valley. Just beyond the ridge of broken shale and frostbitten pine, figures move upright. Quick, but wrong. They're tall, lanky, hairless in strange places. Their steps are light, almost bouncing. You squint through the glare. Not animals. Not your people. Weird cousins from the south. Homo sapiens, you drop to the ground. Breath shallow. Your cousin crouches beside you, squinting. You've heard of them? Distant whispers passed between clans. The fire-voiced ones, the ones with painted faces and flutes made from birds. The ones who sometimes smile before killing you. The figures don't see you. They're focused on something else, tracking maybe. You watch them for what feels like hours, muscles locked. They're fast. Their clothing's lighter, layered with woven things that don't look like hide. And one of them, he's carrying something curved. A strange, smooth stick. You've never seen a bow. You retreat. Back at the cave, you speak in low, sharp tones. Everyone listens. The old woman grunts knowingly. The sick child, now recovering, clutches your leg. No one panics. But no one laughs, either, because this isn't a myth anymore. This is contact. It's a weird thing seeing someone so like you. But not. Their faces are flatter, their brows smaller. Their chins jut out slightly. You've got strength and bone and instinct. They've got something else. That spark. Behind the eyes. The thing that makes them run faster, talk longer, build differently. Historians still argue whether the first meetings were hostile, friendly, or just confusing. But archaeological evidence shows there was contact hand, not just trade. Shared tools, overlapping footprints. Hybrid children. Yes, you heard that right. Turns out, your weird cousins weren't just rivals. They were lovers too. DNA proves it. Most modern humans carry between 1% and 4% Neanderthal DNA, which means somewhere in some frozen corner of prehistory, someone looked across a fire and thought, sure, I'll try something new. You don't know that, not yet, but you feel something? Later that day, you spot smoke on the horizon. Not your fire. Not a natural one, controlled, built. Their camp, you suggest moving. Your grandmother disagrees. She says the land remembers. You should stay. Your cousin sharpens a spear in silence. The debate is brief. You pack. Migration isn't fun. It's exhausting. You haul meat, tools, hides, the sick girl bundled like a pupa. The dog follows, ears twitching. You travel east, through the pine grove and across the frozen stream where the rocks look like sleeping giants. And the whole time, you wonder if they're following. The next night, you find a temporary cava, shallow overhang with good stone, and enough room to huddle close. You set no fire, just cold meat and colder stares. In the morning, they're gone. The sapiens, no tracks, no smoke. Just their scent, faint in the wind. You should feel relief. You feel disappointed. Because here's the strange part. You wanted to see them again. To study their walk, their clothes. To know if they fear you. Or pity you. To know if they can talk. To know if they're better. Fringe theory moment. Some researchers believe Neanderthals adopted sapient tools and techniques, not by conquest or imitation, but through quiet, mutual interaction. An herb. Here, a knot-tying trick there. The slow blending of two minds at the edge of the world. Maybe tonight. Around their own fire, they're telling stories about you. You try to imagine it. one of them pantomiming your heavy gait, mimicking your deep voice, laughing, wondering if your people think, dream, love. The answer, of course, is yes. You dream tonight, not of the hunt, not of the cold, but of a world where your tribe and theirs sit together by a shared flame, passing meat and stories like they've always done it. You wake up before the sun, alone outside the shelter. The snow is falling gently. Single track cuts across the frost, not yours, a footprint. Lighter than yours, narrower. You stare at it for a long time, and then, quietly, you press your own foot beside it. Two shapes in the snow, side by side, just for a moment. Asterisk. You smell the feast before you hear it. Wood smoke laced with fat, meat sizzling, bones cracking open to reveal warm marrow. Your stomach twists in on itself. You haven't eaten properly in 2 days, and now this fire feasts, and that one, cannibal. Your hunting party stumbles into the clearing cautiously. You've been following smoke since midday, moving through half-frozen bogs and wine-shaved cliffs. Now you see it, a camp, not yours, not sapiens either. A different group, familiar but strange. They notice you before you can retreat. Weapons. Rise, eyes narrow. But then someone calls out roughly in your tongue. They know your grandmother's clan name. Sort of. There's enough shared blood or memory to keep the spears lowered. You're allowed in. You count them? 10, maybe 12. Most are young. While their leader is a woman with broad shoulders, a massive scar over one eye, and a necklace made entirely of finger bones. You do not ask whose fingers. You sit near the edge of the fire. Someone tosses you a scrap of meat crispy, rich, greasy, in the best way. You devour it, not even pretending to be polite. Then they bring out the skull, human split clean down the middle, polished with ash. You freeze, meat halfway to your mouth. Everyone else keeps eating. You've heard the stories that some groups, in times of starvation or madness or strange rituals, eat their dead. Not out of cruelty, not like monsters, out of necessity. Or maybe something more complicated. Archaeologists have found broken Neanderthal bones with marks scudding, smashing, boiling. Sometimes it's clear it was for marrow. Sometimes it's not. Historians still argue whether it was survival or ceremony. A tribute, maybe. A warning. A memory made edible. You chew slower now. No one looks guilty. No one looks ashamed. The woman with the scar hands you another rib. Not human, this time. Deer, you think. You hope one of the children nearby is sucking on a long bone, humming through her nose. You can't tell if it's a tune or just the rhythm of chewing. You glance around and realize this group is doing better than you. Their clothes are cleaner. Their tools are sharper. Their fire burns hotter. You feel envy bloom in your chest and something darker. Resentment, fear. Then one of them laughs. A real laugh. Loud, free, echoing off the trees. You don't know why it's just over someone dropping a bowl, but the sound cuts through the tension. Like a warm breeze, you laugh too, because you're Neanderthal. And if there's one thing you understand, it's contradiction. You can fight someone in the morning, share marrow soup by nightfall, and never mention either again. The feast continues into darkness. They roast a fat chunk of meat over open. Flame, smoke curling into the sky like a signal to the gods or wolves or both. You sip broth from a bark cup, biting down on something unidentifiable and deciding not to ask. Fringe theory moment. Some anthropologists suggest that feasting among Neanderthals wasn't just survival, it was diplomacy. A way to build fragile alliances, smooth tensions, even find mates. You're not sure about that last part, but you do notice your brother making goo-goo eyes at a girl across the fire who could probably kill him with one hand. Eventually, the Skull is placed back on a rock, carefully, almost reverently. A few people nod toward it. You don't know if it's thanks or apology or something else. You nod too, just in case. One of the older men tells a story about a mammoth that lived in the sky and sneezed lightning. Someone else says the bones of that mammoth are under the fire now. No one corrects him. Why would they? You stay the night. You don't sleep much, because while you're grateful and full, you can't help but wonder if things had gone differently. Would your skull be on that rock? The next morning, your group prepares to leave. You trade a blade for a dried bundle of fat trapped meat. One of the children hugs you. You're not sure what to do, so you pat her awkwardly on the head. The scarred woman watches you go without a word, just a nod. You walk all day without speaking. That night, round your own fire, your cousin finally says it. They eat people. You nod. But they fed us. The flames crackle. You stare into them and think about lines how easily. They blur when the snow keeps falling and the animals don't return. You sleep with one hand on your knife, because feasts are only peaceful until they're not. Asterisk. You wake up with your jaw throbbing and your gums screaming like you just bit down on a burning rock. Congratulations, you've got a TOOTHHE, not just a chew on the other side kind of deal. No, this is deep, fiery, pulsing pain that radiates through your entire skull. It's the kind of agony that makes you want to bash your own face against the cave wall just to feel something different. You groan and poke at the offending tooth with a filthy finger. Bad idea. The gum's swollen. There's something pus may be using at the edge. You nearly black out. Your cousin notices your grimace and grunts knowingly. He points to a nearby rock. You know what that means? Tooth removal day. You're not excited? Let's be clear. Neanderthal dentistry isn't exactly gentle. There's no reclining chair, no floss, no soothing music. Just rocks, spit, and nerves of iron. Some fossilized skulls show where patterns and scratches that suggest early dental work painful, experimental, and deeply personal. You lie back on a flat slab and grip your fur cloak with white knuckles. Your grandmother, of course, is thrilled to help. She's got a rock. A smooth one, slightly rounded, not for pounding, for twisting. Because what's more fun than yanking a rotting tooth with a flint and hope? She leans over you, breath smelling, faintly of smoked fish and herbs, and taps the sore tooth once. You grunt. She nods. That's all she needs. She wedges the flint in, braces your jaw with her knee, and crack, you howl. The sound echoes through the cave, bounces off stone, wakes the dog. Even the fire seems to flicker in sympathy. 1, 2 more twists, and the tooth comes out. Bloody, shiny, useless. She holds it up triumphantly, like she just pulled Excalibur. You don't faint. Exactly. You just lie there, blinking at the ceiling and reconsidering every decision you've ever made that involved eating hard roots. Later, your jaw packed with moss and numbed with spit-smeared herbs. You're rewarded with broth. Warm, thin, but soothing. You sip it like nectar. Someone pats your shoulder. You're not sure who. You're too busy vibrating with pain and pride. But dental drama's not the only medical miracle of the day, because a few feet away, your cousin is having brain surgery. Okay, not quite surgery in the modern sense, but still, trepanation. Drilling a hole in the skull, on purpose, while the patient is still alive. There's no infection control, no anesthesia, just sharp stones, steady hands, and either incredible trust or very low expectations. You watch. As your grandmother uses a pointed scraper to scratch a shallow circle into the skull of a man who fell off a cliff last week. He hasn't spoken since. His head is swollen. So now they're trying this scrape. Scrape, scrape. Tiny flakes of bone gather like snow. Blood beads, then runs. The man groans. Scrape. This isn't unheard of. Trepanned Neanderthal skulls have been found with signs of healing, meaning they survived. Whether it was to relieve pressure, release spirits, or just desperation, historians still argue. But one thing's clear. It wasn't always a death sentence. After hours of tense silence, the hole is complete. Blood washes down his temple. He breathes shallow, but even. Someone smears a poultice of moldy moss and chewed bark across the wound. You want to gag, but it's probably the best medicine you've got. You retreat to your corner and poke your now empty gum socket. Still tender, still throbbing, but better than before. Fringe theory for tonight: some researchers suggest Neanderthals used pain as a rite of passage. Pulling teeth, breaking bones, enduring cold each trauma was a kind of growth. A hard-earned badge. Not celebrated exactly, but understood. You think about that as you watch the firelight flicker over the healing man's bandaged head. Heal. Live. Maybe. If the wound doesn't rot, the fever doesn't come. Later that night, the cave is quiet. No feasting. No music. Just the occasional moan or muttered dream. You sit outside for a while, watching snowdrift in spirals across the pine trees. You press a finger to your jaw. It hurts, but not as much. You survived another lesson in Neanderthal healthcare. It was mostly rocks and pain and moss. But somehow, it worked. Asterisk. You're staring at a wall again, not just any your wall. The back of the cave, just above where the smoke stains end and the light dies. You've been scratching at it for the last hour with a burnt stick and a piece of flint. It's not really art, per se. It's more like determined doodling. But you can't stop. Dot lines become shapes. Shapes become a form. A reindeer, you think? Or maybe a woolly rhinoceros? It's hard to tell. You're not exactly working with charcoal. Pencils and PAPY are us. This is the art of almost art. You wipe sweat from your forehead and squint at the wall. The creature you've drawn has legs, antlers, something like eyes. You think it's looking backward. Maybe it's something chasing it. It might be symbolic. Or maybe you just messed up the legs. Either way, it's yours now. Your little cousin. Peers over your shoulder. Grunts approval, then adds a line underneath wobbly and thick. That's the ground, she says proudly, in the half-formed words your people use. You nod solemnly. It's beautiful, ugly, sacred, temporary. Because this wall tells no one and everyone that you were here. Modern archaeologists used to believe Neanderthals didn't make art, that they lacked the creative spark. But more recent discoveries say otherwise. Cave markings in Spain, handprints in France, geometric patterns etched into bone and shell. Simple, yes, but intentional, expressive. Historians still argue whether it's art in the way we mean a tour, just some primal version of boredom carving. But you don't care about that. You just like the feeling of leaving a mark. There's a rhythm to it: flint against stone, stick against soot. You trace a spiral now. Maybe it's a symbol. Maybe it's just how your hand moves. You've seen. Others do it to your cousin scratches dots on bones. Your brother once carved a zigzag into a mammoth tooth just because it looked cool. Fringe theory time. Some researchers think Neanderthals had proto-writing, a way to convey information, using patterns and marks. Not language, not exactly, but ideas. This place is good. This creature is dangerous. I was here, and I mattered. Your grandmother approaches. She doesn't say anything, just places a lump of ochre at your side. Red, crumbly. She gestures. Use it. You do. You crush the ochre into powder, mix it with animal fat, and smear it onto your fingers. Then you press your hand to the stone, pull it away. There your print. A ghost of yourself, painted in blood-colored clay. The child squeals. You smile. You add another, and another. Soon the wall is a scatter of hands large, small, smudged. It looks like a crowd frozen in time. The fire crackles nearby. Your people are watching now. Curious, some pick up charcoal. Others join in. Symbols, swirls, animal shapes. It's not a coordinated mural lit, a storm of markings. A memory pile, and that's when your brother steps forward, solemn, and draws what is unmistakably a very crude butt. The cave erupts in laughter. Because, of course, you grab the charcoal and immediately add tusks to it. Now it's a mammoth, but you say? The kids scream with laughter. Someone claps. Someone else mutters something about wasting good soot. But even the old woman's mouth twitches. The moment passes. But the wall is changed. It means something. Now, and sure, it might not last forever. Rain might wash it. Ash might cover it. Time might forget it. But while it's here, while you're here, matters later. As the fire dims and the wind howls at the cave's mouth, you sit quietly beneath. Your creation. You trace the outlines of the hands. Some are barely visible. Others sharp. You don't remember whose is whose anymore. That's okay, because art here isn't about ego, or style, or perfection. It's about connection. A mark on stone is proof that someone survived long enough to make it, that they had time to think about something else, something beyond hunger and fire and fear. And that's the most human thing you've done all week. Asterisk. You sneeze hard. Twice, then a third time that nearly takes you off your feet. Your head is pounding. Your nose is a leaky disaster. And your bones feel like they've been used for target practice by a pack of saber-toothed cats. You're sick. Again. And you're about to discover the joys of prehistoric medicine. Because out here, your sinuses declare war and your joints feel like wet logs, you don't have NyQuil or hot soup delivered to your bed. You've got bark tea, mud poultices, a grandmother who insists the cure for everything is rub it with moss and walk it off. You stagger back to the fire, where she's already preparing a treatment. This time, it's a steaming clump of something brown and pungent, smeared over a flat stone. It looks like spoiled stew. You pray it's not. She gestures for you to sit. You obey. She pats your chest with the warm mush. It oozes down your ribs like mossy oatmeal. You grit your teeth and say nothing. This is what passes for a spa day in Neanderthal times. Evidence from ancient burial sites suggests Neanderthals had at least a basic understanding of natural remedies. Traces of chamomile, yarrow, and even poplar bark, which contains salicylic acid. A precursor to aspirin, have been found in the dental calculus of ancient individuals. So yes, you probably had medicine, but no one really knows if your people understood dosages, or if they were just testing everything in the forest like very brave guinea pigs. Historians still argue whether your cures were spiritual, practical, or just a lucky guess that didn't kill anyone that day. Your cousin hands you a lump of honey-smeared root to chew. It's bitter, sticky, and somehow makes your teeth feel fuzzier. You don't ask questions. You're too busy trying not to sneeze into the fire and start a second illness. The sick girl who got better weeks ago watches with great satisfaction. She brings you her old fur one that smells like dry mushrooms and dog butt. It's warm. You wrap it around your shoulders and lie back. Then the shaman work begins. Your grandmother starts humming. Not a song, a rhythm, a vibration. She shakes a pouch of dried seeds and places a wolf's tooth under your armpit. You raise an eyebrow. She nods seriously. Apparently, okay, this is part of the process. Fringe theory time. Some researchers suggest Neanderthal healing rituals were part physical, part symbolic. Not just herbs and rest, but items placed on or near the body to draw out sickness. Some graves even contain animal bones placed near problem area spinal injuries with vertebrae from large animals. For instance, coincidence, maybe cultural, medicine. Possibly, you fall asleep beneath your wolf-tooth blanket, head pounding but breath slowly easing. You dream of walking through a forest where the trees whisper cures and the roots tell you which plants not to chew. When you wake, your fever's lower, not gone, but better. You spend the next day inside, sipping bark tea and wrapped in so many furs, you look like a collapsing yurt. The others check on you casually, like it's no big deal. But each one brings something. Dry meat, warm broth, even a carved bead to watch over you. You pretend not to be touched. You are? Even the dog curls beside you. He stinks, but he's warm. He licks your wrist once and sighs. That night, you finally join the circle by the fire again. Weak, pale, but upright. Someone throws a log on the flames. Sparks rise like fireflies. The air smells of pine, damp stone, and recovery. You glance around at your tribe. Every one of them has their own scars, healed breaks, limping knees, crooked fingers from frostbite. Illness is just another challenge in this world, like hunting or childbirth or finding food in 3 feet of snow. You survive it or you don't. But when you do, you share the herbs. You pass on the tricks. You keep the wolf tooth in your satchel just in case. Because you get sea canned, they rub mud on it, and somehow it works. Asterisk. You dream of waves, not rippling brook water or icy creeks. No real waves, roaring, salt thick, endless. A shimmering horizon beneath a sun that actually warms. The ocean. But when you wake, it's just wind, just pine, just more snow. Because, in all likelihood, the sea is something you'll never see. You live landlocked, surrounded by valleys, ridges, caves, and cold. The closest you come to coastline is a muddy riverbank filled with slush and bones. The very idea of the sea feels mythical, like stories of giant birds or fire that falls from the sky. But today, you hold something strange in your hand. Smooth, pink, round, a seashell. It's not yours. It's been passed around. Your grandmother got it from a trader, long ago someone from a warmer place. A place where water never froze and fish came in colors you can't imagine. She lets you hold it once a year. Today is your day. The shell feels almost alive cool, polished, like something that doesn't belong in this gritty, bone-filled world of soot and frost. You flip it between your fingers and wonder, who found this? How far did they travel? Why bring it here? And more importantly, why does it make your chest ache? Neanderthals rarely lived near the ocean, at least not for long. Most sites are inland. Yet, shells turn up in odd places far from any known shoreline. Decorated, pierced, carried. Evidence that trade networks may have stretched farther than anyone guessed. Some shells found in Central Europe trace back to Mediterranean coast, hundreds of kilometers away. Historians still argue whether Neanderthals traveled themselves or traded across extended webs of contact. But either way, the message is clear. Something about the sea called to your people. Even if they never saw it, you carry the shell for the rest of the day, tucked inside your satchel next to your flint and bone tools. You can't stop touching it, not for luck, just for reassurance that something beyond the trees exists. That the world is wider than cold, rock, and reindeer. Later, around the fire, your cousin jokes that the shell sings. You listen, nothing. But maybe if you hold it close enough, the sound of your own breath echoes inside. Not a song, exactly, but a whisper. You pretend it's the sea dot your grandmother once told a story about a man who followed the rivers until the land ended. said he found a place where water swallowed the sky and fish flew through the air. No one believed her, but she keeps the shell-like, it proves her right. Fringe theory of the night. Some archaeologists believe Neanderthals engaged in symbolic travel journeys, not just for food, but for knowledge, memory, or rites of passage. Maybe carrying a shell was like carrying a map or a dream. You think about that as you sit with the shell against your cheek, eyes closed. You picture vast open water, warm sand, giant crabs that walk sideways for no reason. The idea of swimming in something bigger than a mammoth herd seems absurd and wonderful. Then your brother throws a pine cone at your head. Dream over. Still, that night you tell the younger kids a story about the ocean. You make most of it up. Giant snakes that coil around boats, trees that grow from water. Shells so big you can crawl inside and sleep forever. The kids are mesmerized. Someone asks, "Is it real?" You shrug. Someone found the shell. You say, "That's enough," the next morning. You tuck the shell back into its pouch and return it to your grandmother. She doesn't thank you. She doesn't need to. You've kept it safe. You've passed. The memory on dot, you step outside the cave. The snow stopped. The wind is gentler today. For a moment, just a moment, the sky brightens. You think about that far-off shore, wherever it is. Maybe someone else, across endless forests and time, is holding a carved mammoth tusk and wondering where you live. The sea you'll never taste is out there, and somehow still shapes who you are. Asterisk. The air is too still. That's the first warning. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl, your breath catch, and every hair on your neck stand up like it heard something before you did. You freeze mid-step, hand already on your spear. Look left. Nothing. Right? Nothing. But your instincts are louder than your eyes. Then you hear it. A low growl, so deep it seems to come from beneath the earth. Then the unmistakable crunch of something huge moving through underbrush. And that's when you see the gleam yellow eyes set low to the ground, stalking, wide as fists. Fur like smoke, shoulders like boulders. Fangs like ivory blades. Say BERTOO. This isn't a casual predator. This is your final exam in survival. You grip your spear tighter, taking a step back, heart thudding in your ears like a war drum. The others scatter. One climbs a tree. Another vanishes behind a rock. Your cousin, who usually laughs at danger, is dead silent now. The cat slinks forward. You can't outrun it. Not in this terrain. The snow is too deep, the roots too slick. And besides, this isn't a rabbit you're dealing with. This is a specialist. A creature built by ice and time to hunt exactly you, saber-toothed cat Smilodon. Technically roam the same landscapes you did. Muscular, deadly, and smart. Fossil records show they could ambush prey with terrifying force. And yes, they probably knew what a group of distracted, fire-warmed Neanderthals smelled like. Dinner. Historians still argue whether saber-tooths hunted humans regularly or only when desperate. Either way, when you're face to face with one, the academic debate doesn't help much. You slowly edge toward a boulder, placing it between you and the beast. It follows, tail twitching. Your cousin appears on the other side, tossing a rock. It bounces off the ground, useless. The cat ignores it. It wants you. You glance at your spear. One shot, one chance. You shift your weight, knees bending slightly, and plant your feet. You've done this before, but never like this. Then it charges. Everything blurs. You sidestep, hurling the spear with every ounce of strength. It connects hard, slamming into the cat's shoulder. It roars, skidding sideways into the snow. Not dead, not even close. You run. Your cousin meets you halfway. Together, You dive behind a fallen log as the beast tears through your trail like a hurricane. But it doesn't follow. It's bleeding now, limping, rethinking. It vanishes in two. The trees leaving behind a trail of blood and clawed earth. You stay hidden, barely breathing until even the silence feels normal again. Eventually, you stand, knees shaking. You've lost your spear, your pride. It's almost your life. But not today. Back at camp, the others swarm, you checking your limbs, counting your eyes, making sure nothing is missing. Your grandmother mutters something that could be a blessing or an insult. You're too dizzy to care. Later, they give you a new spear, a gift. Not the biggest, but sharp, balanced. The shaft polished with bare fat. You sit by the fire and replay. The moment in your mind, over and over. The charge. The roar. The impossible silence just before. Fringe theory tonight. Some believe encounters with predators shaped. Neanderthal myth and memory-fanged beasts as gods, omens, or spirits. Maybe your people whispered of saber-tooths like demons that walked. In daylight, maybe you'll do the same. You carve a small notch into the cave wall before bed. Not an animal, just a mark. Your mark. A reminder that you faced the unfaceable and lived. Barely tomorrow, you'll look for your spear. You'll retrace the trail and follow the blood. Not because you want revenge, but because that's what you do. You finish what the cold starts. But for now, you're alive, wrapped in furs, surrounded by the breathing of those who still breathe, and outside. The saber-tooth remembers you too. Asterisk. You move because the food moves. That's the rule. That's always been the rule. No matter how warm the cave, how sweet the spring water, or how many reindeer bones you've stacked in the back corner when the herds leave, you follow. There's no staying behind. The land doesn't care about comfort. You're migrating again. The fire pit you dug so carefully. Cold, the wall arch you added your handprint to. Left behind, the burial mound beneath the trees. Snow-covered and silent, you. Press your palm to the cave wall one last time. Then you go. You pack light, a few furs, spears, stone tools. Meat smoked into something between jerky and regret. Everything else is left to time. The group moves in single file. Grandmother riding in the middle, teeth clenched, muttering to herself. The sick child, now strong again, walks beside her, humming. Your cousin leads with a sharpened stick and an attitude. You bring up the rear, it takes hours to leave the valley. And by the time you reach the ridgeline, your legs ache like someone's, chewing them from the inside. Still, you press on, the snow crunches underfoot in a way that's somehow both soft and exhausting. Your boots are forever, but still, the cold creeps in like guilt. You breathe hard through your nose, where snot instantly freezes into decorative crystals. Lovely, you cross frozen streams, weave through brittle trees and scale slopes that threaten to swallow your ankles whole. Every now and then you pause not to rest, but to listen, because you're not the only ones moving. The reindeer are ahead migrating north, following thaw and lichen. And where they go, others go too. Wolves, lions, other human groups. You've seen their fires in the distance. Their footprints in the mud, their scat steaming in the morning light. There's no trail marked for you. No map, just memory. You pass through a place your grandmother calls the broken ground. She spits when she says it. You don't ask why, you feel it. Though something tense in the wind, like this land remembers things you don't want. 2. Migration isn't wanderlust. It's survival dressed up as movement. It's not Friedman's obligation. The reindeer don't ask your opinion, and the mammoths don't care about your knees. Still, there's beauty. You reach a ridge just before sunset, and for a moment, the world turns gold. The clouds split. The light hits the snow-covered plains in a way that makes it glow like fire. You see the reindeer? Hundreds of them, marching slow, steady, antlers rising like a forest in motion. You don't breathe because this is. Why you keep moving, not just to eat, but to witness. Fringe theory time. Some believe migration routes were shared across generations, burned into your bones like the smell of smoke or the taste of pine bark. Others think each group had to relearn the path through trial, error, and occasional starvation. You'd believe either. Both feel true. That night, you camp beneath an outcrop of stone. No cave, but there's enough overhang to block the worst. Of the wind. You set a small fire and boil a sliver of dried mammoth in a pouch of bark and hide. It's not much, but the warmth spreads from your gut to your fingers. You stare into the dark and wonder where the reindeer are sleeping. Your cousin sharpens. Tools beside you. The dog chews something frozen and vaguely terrifying. The kids play. With a clump of snow like its treasure. Everyone is tired, but no one complains, because complaining doesn't stop the cold or bring back the reindeer. You sleep wrapped in furs, one eye half open. You dream of walking, always walking. Feet on snow, snow on feet. Herds just out of reach. You wake sore, hungry, and slightly annoyed that your dream didn't include even one roasted marrow bone. The journey continues. You'll travel for days, maybe weeks. You'll lose tools. You'll break a spear. Someone will slip on ice and sprain a knee. You'll dry meat. You'll dodge predators. You'll follow the reindeer until either they stop or you do, and eventually you'll stop. You'll find a place with good rock and better wind cover. You'll build a new fire pit. Hang new hides. Scratch new marks on new walls until the food moves again, and you do too. Asterisk. It happens slowly, no big disaster. No fiery sky or earthquake or sudden wave of sickness. Just ... Less, fewer voices. Fewer voices, fewer fires burning at night. One day, you realize that you haven't heard laughter in days. The cave feels too quiet. The wind whistles through it like it's trying to fill the space left behind. Your tribe is shrinking. Your grandmother died 2 moons ago. She didn't suffer. Not really. Just laid down one night and didn't get up again. She was ancient tat, least 35. That's not sarcasm. In this world, 35 is old. She outlived 3 winters, a mammoth charge, and your brother singing. She went in her sleep under a pile of furs with her wolf tooth clutched. In one hand, you buried her in the snow beneath a pine grove. No speech, just silence. You carved her symbol on a stone and placed it at the head of the grave. The kids cried. You didn't. Not then. Now, there's only 6 of you. Your cousin disappeared while scouting. You found his footprints, then the signs of a struggle. Blood. No body. Just emptiness. Maybe a lion, maybe sapiens. Maybe just the forest deciding it wanted him back. You didn't go looking. Not really. There's food. But less than you need. The reindeer moved on again, farther than usual. Your traps catch more snow than meat. The berries are bitter this season. The roots thin and dry. You eat anyway. You chew slowly. You save the last bite for the kids, like always. One night, you look around the fire and realize how many shadows are missing. The space feels hollow. You press your hand against the cave wall beside the old drawings. Some of the ochre has faded. The animals look blurry now. The handprints are flaking. It's like even the walls are forgetting you. This is what extinction feels like. Not a bang, not a scream, just a long, slow silence. Historians still argue about why the Neanderthals disappeared. Climate, competition, interbreeding, a mix of everything. They don't know for sure. But the fossil record thins. The tools vanish. The bones stop appearing. You feel it in your gut. The end is near. You don't say it. You don't have words for things that big. But you know. Still, you get up in the morning. You sharpen your scraper. You fix the fire pit again. You take the kids outside to throw rocks at trees. Because what else is there to do? You remember when there were dozens of you. Now, the echoes are louder than the voices. Fringe theory time. Some researchers believe the last Neanderthals didn't know they were the last. That they simply lived their lives as best they could, not realizing they were pages at the end of a book no one would finish. You're not sure, but you think about it a lot. You dream more now, strange dreams. A world of shining buildings. Voices from the sky. Caves made of glass. You wake confused, cold, alone. But you get up anyway. One evening, you walk to the top of the ridge, past the old Mammoth Trail. The sun is setting in streaks of orange and pink. It paints the snow in fire. For a moment, it's so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat. You wonder if there are others far away. If another fire burns, another hand presses paint to a wall. You imagine someone else, miles from here, looking at the same sun and feeling the same ache. Maybe you'll meet them. Maybe you won't. The kids are calling. You turn and walk back. You're not gone. Not yet. But you feel it, the last warm breath. Asterisk. You wake with snow in your hair. It drifted in overnight soft, silent, indifferent. It covers the cave floor in a thin veil, blurs the edges of footprints, smooths out the little ridges in your sleeping mat where your body curled. You don't. Brush it off. You lie there, blinking at the faint gray light trickling through the cave mouth, and listen. The wind is faint. The children are asleep. The fire is dead. There's no one else left to tend it. You get up slowly. Every joint protests. Your back aches like it's been slept on by a mammoth, but you're used to that. You throw on your first liner, now patched in too many places. They smell like salt and smoke and memory. You move through the cave, past the old wall with the ochre handprints. Most of them have faded. Some are chipped off completely. You add a new one-year palm dipped in red clay, pressed against the same stone your cousin once used. One more mark, you step outside. The world is breathtaking in that sharp, cruel way sky pale, trees skeletal, snow crusted hard underfoot. You see no tracks, no movement, no reindeer, no birds, just silence. You walk anyway. You're not sure why. Habit, hope, hunger, maybe all three. You follow the ridgeline to the stream that hasn't thawed in weeks. The ice is clear today's. So clear you can see your reflection. You barely recognize yourself. Your face is thinner. Your eyes sharper. Your beard is wild. Your teeth are fewer. But your expression still defiant, still there. You squat and chip at the ice with a stone until it breaks. The water beneath is freezing. You drink it anyway. It burns going down. You stay there a while, watching the water swirl beneath the surface. Then you catch something glinting in the snow. You dig it out, a broken scraper, shaped like the ones you made years ago. Not yours. Someone passed through. Here, maybe not long ago. It gives you something you didn't realize. You'd been missing. You hurry back to the cave. The kids are awake now. They huddle by the cold hearth, rubbing their hands together. You kneel beside them. You strike the flint. Again, again, a spark. A tiny flame. Smoke curls. They lean closer, eyes wide. You add bark, twigs, a bundle of old dry grass Dada catches. The fire lives again. You take the shell from the pouch, the one from the sea you've never seen. You place it gently beside the fire. The children, Ask what it is. You tell them it's a sound you can't hear. A place you'll never go. A dream made solid. They nod like they understand. Maybe they do, because that's the thing about today Neanderthals. You endure, no matter how many vanish, no matter how far the reindeer wander or how cold the stars become. You stay. You survive, even. If the world forgets your name, even if your bones turn to dust and the last cave painting fades into stone, someone, somewhere, will find that shell, that scraper, that red handprint, and they'll know you were here. Your bones tell the final tale. They'll hold your skull in a lab, trace the healed break on your collarbone, run fingers over your worn teeth, and say, "This one lived." And maybe, just maybe, they'll imagine your fire, your laughter, your fear, the long winters, the quiet hope. They'll argue about what you knew, how you spoke, whether you painted animals or just liked scratching walls. But they'll never take this away. You mattered. You were. So now, as the snow falls gentle and slow outside your cave and the fire cracks softly in the dark, let your breath match the rhythm of the flame. You've walked a long way tonight, across ice fields and through smoke-stained shelters. You've carved tools, chewed sinew, hunted giants, and buried those you loved beneath frozen trees. You've lived in a world raw and real, where every moment was survival and every heartbeat a victory. But here, at the edge of that old world, you can finally rest. Let the hum of the wind fold around you like a blanket. Let the whispers of the fire hush the worry from your thoughts. The pain in your jaw is gone. The chill in your bones has faded. Even the howling cats and distant footsteps seem softer now, quieter, almost kind. You've left your mark on stone, in bone, in the memory of those who came after. You don't have to chase the reindeer anymore or fear the crack of ice beneath your feet. You've earned this stillness. Close your eyes. Let your mind drift backward through the warmth of old firelight, the scent of cooked meat, the press of furs against your cheek. You're safe. You are fire. You are story. You are home.